Hey everybody, Nate here, back with another episode of Backstage with Nate. Today's video is all about audition cuts. I'm going to explain what casting notices mean when they say 16 or 32 bar cuts, and I'm going to give you my top 5 tips for choosing the perfect audition cut that is going to leave the casting team wanting more. Stay tuned. As an audition coach, one of the questions I get asked more than anything else is what do they mean by a 16 or a 32 bar cut? To truly understand what these mean, we should take a second and define some terms. Let's start with a cut. A cut is a section of a song that you're going to perform during your audition. Very rarely will you get the chance to perform the entire song when you're in the room, so you want to find a section of the song that is going to allow you to showcase not only your vocal abilities, but your acting abilities as well. A bar is another term for a measure, and a measure in music looks like this. A measure is how we musicians equally divide up a piece of music. Usually a measure has a very specific number of beats, which is defined by the time signature at the beginning of the song. So, when you're trying to figure out is your audition cut a 16 bar cut, you would go through and count all of the little rectangles and see if you have 16 of them. Or if you're doing a 32 bar cut, you would go through and count and see if you have 32 of them. That seems like an arbitrary way of deciding how long an audition cut should be, but it actually goes back quite a ways in musical theater history. So let's take this second and explain why we have those particular numbers. Back in the early days of musical theater, composers followed very set structures as to how they wrote their songs. A typical chorus of a song was 16 measures. A typical verse was also 16 measures. So if an audition notice asked you to sing a 16 bar cut, that meant you sang the chorus of a song. If the audition notice asked you to sing 32 bars, that meant a verse and a chorus. We all know that composers haven't followed these guidelines in a long time, but for some reason we still use them when deciding audition cuts. So let's take the time and define what current casting teams mean when they say 16 or 32 bar cuts. A 16 bar cut is anything between 30 and 60 seconds. Again, the length of a typical chorus. A 32 bar cut is anything between 60 and 90 seconds. Again, the length of a verse and a chorus. Again, these lengths of times are just guides because you want to make sure that you're still able to showcase your abilities. My suggestion is always to choose a cut that allows you to showcase your acting and your singing abilities in the shortest time possible. So now that you know how long your cut should be, these are my top 5 tips for choosing the perfect audition cut. Tip number 1, make a decision about your intro. Make sure that you factor your intro into your audition cut. Some people may choose to just start their cut with a bell tone, whereas others might need maybe a measure or a few notes before to help themselves get into the song. Every song is going to be different as far as what type of introduction you're going to want. This is definitely a conversation to work out with an audition coach because they're going to be able to give you the best advice possible. Make sure you factor your intro into the overall length of your cut. Tip number 2, make sure that your audition cut tells a complete story. As we remember from English class, a story has a beginning, a middle, and an end. This is important because we want to make sure that you're starting and ending your cuts in logical places. You don't want to start in the middle of an idea or end in the middle of a sentence. We want to make sure that it's a complete story. So choose logical points for starting your cut and make sure that we can feel that there's a growth or a development to the story. So if you're trying to figure out exactly where to start and stop your cut, I would go through and figure out exactly what is the beginning, what is the middle, and what is the end of the story that you're trying to tell with your audition cut, and see if you need to adjust the measures on either side to make sure that you're telling the complete story all the way through. Tip number 3 is all about what part of the song to do. I know we all want to go into the audition room showing the casting team everything we can do vocally, showing them the big power belt moment in the song. But remember, at the end of the day, you are acting, and an actor tells a story. While that belt moment might be great vocally, it might not allow you to shape your piece to tell a story while you're in the room. More importantly, if you leave out that belt moment but show that you have the potential for singing that belt moment, it's going to leave the casting team wanting to hear more, which is either going to lead you to getting a callback or is going to lead us to tip number 4. Tip number 4, make sure you know your entire song. If you did your job right in your cut and you showcase that you have the potential for singing that big, huge belting moment, the casting team might ask you to sing the entire song. It would really be a shame if your cut was the only part that you knew and that you had to admit that when you're in the room. More importantly, knowing the entire song is going to allow you to know how your cut fits into the overall arc of the piece that you're singing from. This is great because it's going to allow you to understand your character's emotional development in the song so that you can factor that into your performance in your cut. Tip number 5, make sure you clearly mark your music so your accompanist understands exactly where you want them to start and where you want them to stop. If you have an intro or a bell tone, make sure that that's clearly marked in your music so your accompanist can play your piece exactly the way you'd like it. By clearly marking your music, your accompanist is going to be able to play your piece exactly the way you want it. This is going to allow you to tell that amazing story that you've shaped with your cut, and who knows, that amazing audition could impress the casting team so much that it could lead to an awesome callback. Do you have that perfect audition cut that works for you every time you're in the room? I'd love to hear what it is. Post it in the comments section below. That's it for this episode. I hope you found the information useful. If you like this video, please give it the thumbs up. The more thumbs in the air, the more episodes will be coming your way. If you haven't yet subscribed to my YouTube channel, go click that big red button so that you get notified whenever I post a new video. If you haven't yet followed my studio on social media, all the links for doing so are included in the description below. If you're maybe interested in an audition coaching session with me, or maybe you're a fellow teacher interested in a masterclass, you can find out more information about scheduling those on my website. The link is also included in the description below. Thanks so much for checking out this episode. I hope the information leads you to some amazing auditions, and I'll see you here next time.